Hello my wonderful people, and welcome back to the channel. So today I want to go over books that really changed my perspective on mindset, finances, and even interacting with others. And as you know, the current theme of this channel is teaching you how to live a fulfilling and meaningful life. And what better way than to talk about the books that I've read and to show you all what they're all about. Let's dive right in. The first one we're going to talk about is Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck. She pretty much conducted a lot of research from the perspective of students, and it was all wildly insightful. The overarching theme in this book is comparing students with the growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. She uses examples from her own class to show how people respond to different situations, whether they have the fixed mindset or the growth mindset. And some of those scenarios that she talks about include like getting bad grades, rejection, breakups, and failures. Now for this book, I listened to it on Amazon Audible, and I listened to it a lot while I was hitting the gym. So it was really nice to pause and really think about what she just said and apply it to my own life. One interesting theory that she proposes made me really think. And she was talking about that people are not naturally born with talent or intelligence. A huge chunk of it comes down to your mindset and the amount of effort that you put in. So for example, people with a fixed mindset might think that if they're not smart, that they are never destined to be smart, and that it's kind of a fixed quality of themselves and they cannot change that. Like if you're someone who believes that you just can't study, or you can't sing, or you can't do a certain sport. But the growth mindset is on the opposite end of the spectrum and says that you actually can learn something and get better at it if you're willing to put the effort in, and if you're willing to learn from your mistakes and keep on moving forward. And why this book was so interesting to me as a medical student is that because it makes me really think about what I really believe when it comes to studying and how smart I am and my grades in school. So if you are a student, you're gonna become a student, you're in school, or you just finished up school, I highly recommend you read this book because it'll make you think twice before you drop out because you think you're stupid. The next book is on a different topic altogether, but it's something that's very important to read, especially as you see inflation going out the roof, as you see interest rates increasing, and as you see gas prices increasing. And just the world, in the US especially, the world is becoming so expensive, our incomes are lowering and are not adjusting for how expensive the world is getting. Which is why I'm going to recommend you check out this book on personal finance. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and it is a classic. Robert Kiyosaki is an intelligent guy and he has his own political beliefs aside, but he really does talk about how to build your own wealth, but more importantly, the mindset of building wealth in general. The book goes into technical aspects as to what qualifies as an asset, what's a liability, and how to build passive income streams, and what a passive income stream really is. And throughout this whole book, he contrasts the perspective of his rich father and his poor father. So the rich father was actually educated, went to school, got his PhD, and he was considered rich because he has a high paying job, and he has a different mindset on money, that you have to work for your money, that if you don't work, you're not making money, and you have to get a job that you might not like, and you have to work until the day that you die and not worry about investing or building assets, stuff like that. And his poor dad was not actually his dad, but it was his best friend's father, and he was really big on making money work for him. He didn't really care for the more expensive things in life. He didn't see the value of an education, and the so-called poor dad had multiple businesses that worked for him and made him money while he wasn't there. And from the perspective of the rich dad, which has a really nice job, and from society standards, this person has made it, this person is rich, this person is wealthy, and because this person kind of believes that, he also would buy very expensive things, a house, a car, to kind of upkeep that image. And it's so interesting because in my culture, it's all about just getting a job that makes you money, going to school for it, maybe getting into some debt for it, and then as soon as you finish school, then you jump into some more liabilities like a home, like a car, like an expensive marriage, because you want to kind of maintain your reputation, right? But the poor dad has a different philosophy altogether, and he doesn't believe that you need to get fancy degrees and put time into that kind of higher level education to really make more money. You can do a lot of self-training, a lot of self-educating to kind of get to where you need and hone your skills and have money work for you and build businesses, even if it's very slow and it's not really guaranteed. And the poor dad was all about building assets that make money for you. Maybe not right away, but in time, they will. Coming from a family with a very conservative mindset on money, and there's only one way to make money, I found this book extremely insightful. It allowed me to see the other side of things, and it was a huge motivator for creating things on the side for myself, for my future, such as side hustles and purchasing asset classes and hopefully going into things like real estate or renting cars out on Turo, stuff like that, stuff that really does make money when I'm not physically there. The next book is about productivity. Now, I've always been really interested with improving my daily routine and really maximizing my productivity. And a book that really helped me get better at this was a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And the book really gets to the nitty-gritty of it, and it talks about why we have goals and why we even perform certain habits, whether they're good or bad. Many of us are very outcome oriented and are just obsessed with reaching our destination. Like, we want a dream job, we want to make a lot of money, we want that car, we want that house, but we never think about the actual process that it takes to get there, and we have no respect for that process. We don't ever enjoy the process to get these external things or to reach that outcome. This book places a lot of emphasis on the system itself versus the results. And what's interesting about the book is that a core part of fulfilling our desires or even solving our problems comes down to our daily habits. And the book even breaks down habits into 4 different steps: a cue, a craving, a response, a reward. Now, you would have to read the book to really understand each part of it, because once you do, it makes you rethink your habits altogether. It makes you rethink your daily routine. But in a nutshell, it's not easy to kind of change your habits overnight or to change your routine. That's why the book is called Atomic Habits. It's small changes each day, doing more of the things that you want to do and doing less of the things that you don't want to do. And it's kind of like ultimately hacking your daily routine just a little bit, where you're making it much easier for yourself and you're making the process much more engaging and fun. So this book really helped me prioritize the habits that I wanted to include in my life, but also to make it easier and more fun for me. So if you're a little lost on how to build a routine, please read this book and it'll help you tremendously. So the next book is a bit more mainstream and is one of my favorite authors, and I actually follow him on social media because he has some really inspirational quotes. His name is Mark Manson, and he wrote this book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving I really believe the book was a shock to the system, to the genre of self-help. He takes an atypical approach to the self-development world, but when you actually listen to what he has to say, there's a lot of truth to it. And he tells it how it is, which is what I really appreciate, especially with our current generation where you kind of have to tiptoe around our words. He just says it straight up. Like, he talks a lot about embracing negative thinking and to not focus on our personal shortcomings if we really believe we have any. And he even thinks techniques like positive thinking or just being really positive about things is a form of avoidance. And like the title says, he tries to advocate that people really don't care about anything. They really don't care about things as much as they realize. And the reason why we're living today is because we care about something. We give an F about something, but we usually give an F about the wrong things, and usually pursuing these things is what drives us into mental health crises and makes us tear us apart. And he talks about that by simply unlocking your phone, you can easily compare yourself to others on the internet when it comes to cars, home, income, looks, and everything in between. This book is a wake-up call for many. It forces you to care about the right things. I'm really interested in reading books that are authored by MDs or DOs because I want to also do something similar, which is why this book by Dr. Joe Dispenza is a must read, and it's really interesting. He's an expert in neuroscience and psychology, and the book is called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. He talks about how some of his patients have actually exhibited physical changes by their mind alone. I grew up thinking a very certain way about finances, family, my own mental health, and relationships. And his book talks about why we even think that, why we're so addicted to our past self, why you are your past sometimes, why you wake up and think about things a certain way, why you can't seem to kick it out of your mind. You might try to change things, you might try to say different things, but at the core essence of things, it's hard breaking the habit of being yourself. But the biggest takeaway from this book is that your reality is shaped by your mind. Wherever you put your energy, that will come true. So maybe you are a student and you believe that you just suck at studying and you've never been good at studying, you've never been good at taking tests, and that's your fate. Read this book first. Or maybe you think no one will love you and you're not capable of being loved. Read this book first. Or maybe you're someone who struggles with their weight and then you believe that you can never lose weight and that you can never get in the gym, you can never be good at lifting and running. Read this book first. The last book that I suggest you read, and it's really good for 2022 while everyone's trying to learn new skills, do well in school, schools become more difficult than ever, curriculums are rapidly evolving. So I'm going to recommend this book. It's called Make It Stick by Peter Brown. I listened to this one also on Amazon Audible. This book, I read it at the beginning of medical school, and I started seeing a visible change in my grades and how I retained information and how much I stressed about studying. I saw a clear difference when I started adopting these evidence-based techniques into my study routine and into my study habits. Now, this book cuts right to the point and talks about ineffective study techniques. This is based on research, high sample size, control groups, all these things, and it talks about just ineffective ways to study that I've always used to study because That's what I really knew. And by you improving the way that you study, you end up studying for less periods of time, you end up doing better, you end up feeling less stress, you get a lot of wins in your life. But this book offers a lot of solutions to your study problems. If you're struggling with studying, if you have a terrible mindset about studying, read this book. So that's all the books I'm recommending. You can find them at stores like Target, Barnes & Noble, Amazon Audible. You can find it online, wherever else. Drop a comment below, subscribe, and I'll see you here next time.